guys, this is Caitlin Baker from Puckett Mutts, and for our course this month, we are going to work on loose leash walking. So loose leash walking is something that a lot of people tend to struggle with because seems like a pretty complex behavior, and it can be because we're adding a lot of distractions, we're bringing our dogs to places that they may not have worked before, so we have that generalization piece that we need to think about and we need to talk about. So so we're going to work on kind of the foundational behaviors and things that I want you to practice while you're working on loose leash walking in our course for this month. And we're going to start off with attention, because attention is something that if we don't have attention while we're standing still, like I have from Ronan here, then we're not going to be able to have attention when we are out walking with our dogs. So whenever you take your dog someplace new, I want you to try and make sure you're working through the steps that we talk about, so you can focus on getting attention when you're stationary first, and then once they're successful, then you can kind of graduate to moving a little bit, and we'll talk more about that as we go. But for now, we're just going to talk about two games. The first is the up-down game, and then the second is the orientation game. So these are going to be, the goal of these is to get attention from my dog in new scenarios. The games themselves are not hard. They shouldn't be hard for you. They shouldn't be hard for your dog. What's hard is when you bring them to a new place and you try to work on these. So the first one is the up-down game. And the up-down game is really going to be the most simple way my dog can offer me attention besides just rewarding them right to their mouth. So I'm going to start off with a treat. If my dog is looking at me, great. If my dog isn't looking at me, I'm going to take the treat, put it in front of their nose, and I'm going to bring it down to rest between our feet. It doesn't have to be between my feet all the way in the back. I kind of want it to be between my feet and the dog's feet, because I don't want the dog literally underneath my feet, but I want the dog to be focusing on me. And one of the ways I do that is set them up by rewarding near my body. You may have seen other trainers talk about rewarding next to your foot instead of rewarding right to their mouth, which is definitely something that you can do. It's not a bad thing to do that. But when I want the dog to face me, I like to reward in front of me and right between my feet. So as my dog eats the treat, once their head comes up, now they don't actually have to look at me, because think about attention. Attention isn't something that you have to look at somebody to offer. If you hear somebody say your name, you will then turn and you'll say, oh, well, what do you need? It's easier for you to miss things, so I would like my dog to offer me eye contact, but I really just need generalized attention. So I'm going to, when their head comes up, yes, and reward. Always placing that treat on the ground between our feet. His head comes up, yes, good boy, and reward. Now, if he were to, his head come up and walk away, I would lure him back around like I would do in that first step. But yes, good job. Since his head is coming up and he's facing me still, yes, good job. I'm marking and rewarding. And that's really the whole up-down game, is his head comes up, yes, good job. I place the treat down on the ground, head comes up, yes, good job. Treat down on the ground. I'm looking for kind of his orientation, his body positioning to be facing me. I don't care what position he's in. He can be sitting, laying down, standing, and you can see he's interested in other things that are going on, so he's looking around. But overall, if I were to call his name, Ronan, yes, good boy, I think he would look at me. So that's what I'm going to consider attention, is if I call his name, is he able to respond or ask for any behavior? It doesn't have to just be his name. But I want him, yes, good boy, to be able to respond in case something were to happen. So again, just as soon as the dog's head comes up, yes, good boy, place the treat down on the ground. His head comes up, yes, very nice. And I just repeat this process, yes, good job, in every new place that I go. If your dog is getting really good, then you can move, and yes, good job. Lower, bring them to that new location. Head comes up, yes, good boy, very good. Yes, good job. Yes, good. And as long as his body is still facing me, I'm A-okay with that. I moved to a new location, yes, good boy. He actually followed me, which was lovely.
If they don't, again, just lure, and then you can continue to repeat, yes, this process. Good job. And he's laying down because he figures out he's here for the long haul. So that's the up-down game. Once my dog is doing that successfully, then I'm going to transition to the orientation game. The difference is where I place the treats. So by placing the treats between my feet, it's fairly simple for the dog to pick his head up and look at me. He doesn't have to turn his body. He doesn't really have to go anywhere. But if I want to test that and I want to make that a more fluent behavior and better have more faith in it, I'm going to now toss the treats either to my left or to my right, which is then orientation game. So if my dog head comes up, his body is oriented towards me, and I'm going to take this because I did move from where I was. But yes, good job. I'm going to take the treat, put it by his nose, and just lightly toss it to either my left or right side. Yes, good boy, good job. He turns back to me. I'm going to say yes and reward and toss it the opposite direction. So he's thinking that we're in bed right now. Good job. Which is fine. He, yes, turns back. Good boy. Toss the treat, turns back. Yes, good job. So you could see, right, he turned towards me. Yes, good job. That's what I'm looking for. Yes, very nice. Yes, good boy. Right there, he was trying to figure out if it was worth it for him to go to the mat or if he should come check in with me. Which again, the mat is fine. If you've worked on, yes, good job, the mat game with us, you know that it's a really nice alternative for the dog to offer. And if I have a bed there, it's a good thing. Yes, good job. It's a good thing for the dog to focus on instead of getting into any trouble. So right now, if he goes to the mat and yes, good boy, and at all, right, I can continue to reward him for that. But I'm going to continue this pattern of tossing the treats left and right. So now what I'm doing is I'm developing a habit of looking away from me and then looking back. Yes, good boy, good job. And he may not be looking right now, but he's turning back. Yes. And then I can start to wait for eye contact. So let's this time around wait until he looks me either in the eyes or ideally in my face somewhere. So he turns, but I would like, yes, good boy, eye contact. So all I have to do is wait it out, right? He looks and I get eye contact. Yes, good job. Mark and reward. Good boy. He can lay down in between repetitions. That's perfectly fine. Once my dog gets really good at this, I can start to add more distance to the treat. Yes, good job. Tossing. I might toss it a little bit further away, or I can do what I did in that last exercise. Good boy. Yes, good job. Where now I move. So I move over here. He turns. Yes, good boy. Toss the treat to either my left or my right. He turns back. Yes, good boy. Good job. Good. And toss again. Good boy. I'm waiting for eye contact now. Yes, good boy. Good job. Or a little more. He looked at my hand. That's fine. Good boy. Yes, good job. Then once he's good in that spot, I move to a new location. Yes, good boy. And you can see now he's learning that he has to orient towards me no matter where I am. So notice we're practicing in the house. We're practicing, yes, good job. We are on a leash, but that's mostly so he doesn't end up going and getting sidetracked. You can easily do this exercise off leash as well. In fact, I like to recommend people practice it off leash, yes, because then we know we're not relying on the leash to do the exercise. Yes, the dog is doing it with or without the leash. And you notice Ronan was getting a little bit tangled, so that's kind of a good sign that I can take the leash off because it's so loose that I'm not getting any tension whatsoever. Yes, good job. And if at any point my dog gets too sidetracked, all I'm gonna do is take a treat, put it in front of their nose, and lure them back to me. And take that treat, once they're back to me, place it down on the ground between my feet. If at any point the dog struggles to look back up at you, try again at that whatever level you're at, And then once they're successful there, you can keep going. If they're not successful, backtrack. So if you bring your dog out, you start with up-down game. The up-down game is going really well. Then you transition to orientation game. And then the orientation game is going well, but you get one little slip in there. Try again. If they miss and they have a hard time coming back, go back to the up-down game. There's no problem with it, right? Again, these behaviors are challenging because of where we do them, not because of what they are. They're very simple, very straightforward, and if you have nothing going on in your house, you should be able to get pretty much undivided attention. So again, this is something that I want you to practice. Take your dog wherever you go. Start off with attention, because even if it doesn't seem like this is going to help with loose leash walking, I promise you it will, especially as we start to transition to working outside. So thank you guys, and stick around because we're going to talk about actually walking next.